Hey guys, and welcome to today's stream. And today we are going to start classes. So I don't classes is a big topic, and actually I am in a bit of hurry today, so I don't know if how I'll manage this. But the best thing I thought was to just start it and then see according to the time if I'll end it earlier or because I know I've seen that some contents are repeated from the previous like JavaScript beginners and top like that documentation. So I guess we can see and understand like where we would end today's stream. JavaScript is a prototype-based language, and object behavior are specifically specified by its own prototype properties and its prototype properties. However, with the addition of classes, the creation of hierarchies of objects, and inheritance of properties and their values are much more in line with other object-oriented languages such as Java. In this section, we will demonstrate how objects can be created from classes. Classes constructor clearly distinguished from object. We did this in JavaScript. Classes are mainly abstraction over the existing prototypical inheritance mechanism. So they are classes are basically a syntactical sugar on like that's what is an informal way of calling it. It's called an syntactical sugar where it gives you like modern languages patterns from the other languages that are popular and allows you to use them in JavaScript rather than using like conventional JavaScript patterns. All patterns are convertible to prototype based inheritance. Classes themselves are normal JavaScript values as well and have their own property chains. In fact, most plain JavaScript function can be used as constructors. You use the new operator with a constructor function to create a new object. Overview of classes. So we did creating a new object. So mm, we are creating a new object in this and converting to a local date string, and then we are getting the time. If the time is smaller than the current time, then which it has to be, then once upon a time we console log once upon a time. So declaring a class my class. So we write the class keyword and then write the class name. This is how a constructor is made. This is how fields are made in classes. Then this is how methods are made. So we can also make static variables that do not need us to declare an object. They can easily be used with the class. Um, Static methods also, and static block also. That's kind of cool. Um, for private methods, we have to for private values we have to start it with a hash. So this is how we use the constructor. Like pre ES6 when there were no classes, this is how it was done. And then like this was how we created new objects using the constructor. And currently we don't do this, but we can do this. It's not a problem. So um, constructing a class. My instance is equals to new my class. Yep, that's how we construct an object, the field of an object, and the method class declaration hoisting. Okay. Unlike function declaration, class declarations are not hoisted, which means you cannot use a class before it is declared. Yeah. So, like we have seen that functions are hoisted, var keyword is hoisted there, and it is declared to undefined at the functional scope and at the top of its scope. And then the let and const keywords are also like initialized above, but they aren't defined to declared to anything. So they are not even declared to undefined. Uh, so basically, this behavior is similar to let and const, but yeah, uh, basic and like let and const, the class is also not declared on the top of the scope. So they are just initialized. Okay. Yeah. Yep. They are initialized and not declared. Give me 1 minute. Let me just confirm. Declaration and initialization. Okay, so they are declared, not initialized. I have used these keywords lot of time, but sometimes, um, class declaration. So you can also declare classes like this. Color. So they are declaring color class and then a constructor. A constructor takes the values, an array of RGB. So now if we console log read, then it's an object with key value, and value has three like length 3 is RGB. So in a similar way, constructors can also be like classes, well, objects could also be created in such a way also. So this is the method for creating before ES6, and it's still a lot of people use that only. So I've seen a few people using classes. People that mostly come from a background of Java, C++, they tend to use class a lot, especially Java. But yeah, like people that start with JavaScript or start with Python, uh, Python also probably a bit, but not a lot. But yeah, they don't seem to use classes a lot. So this value will be automatically returned as the result of new. Yep. Within the class constructor, the value of this points to newly created instance. You can assign properties to it or read existing properties, especially methods, which will cover next. Okay. This value will automatically return as the result of new. You are advised not to return any value from constructor. Yep. Because if you return a non-primitive value, it will become the value of the new expression, and the value of this is dropped. Okay, cool. So in a class, if you return a non-primitive value, so um, objects are non-primitive. Like if you return one or two, I think that might be a different case. Let's just check what will happen. But if you return a non-primitive value, that's an object basically. So then the new keyword will replace this instance of the class with this object, and so you will not get this my field value. Let's just check. what will happen in both cases. So uh, next JS. So undefined. If we return, let's say one, a primitive value. Okay, so no effect when we return a primitive value, but yes, obviously when we return a non-primitive value that is an array, an object, then will get undefined. So that's not recommended. And uh, you will not require, like no one requires to return anything from the constructor. Constructor is for constructing the classes. So it's just not a good idea. Instance method, the classes only has a constructor. It is not much different from create x factory function, which creates plain object. However, a power of classes is that they can be used as templates with automatically assigned methods to instances. For example, for date instance, you can use a range method to get different information from a single date value. Yep. Um, Class we can add methods called getDate which returns the dead value of the. Cool. Um, they create a constructor. No, no one's tempted to do that. Don't create it like this. Create it outside the constructor. Uh, because what will happen every time a new object is created, a new read function will also be created in this case. Uh, uh, like if in the other case when you declare like this outside, then it that function will be shared, method will be shared amongst the object. So this should be done like this. Private field. On the double of using get rid unsend when you directly access the value. Then you can. Yeah. Okay, they are uh, telling us why do we need object-oriented programming. They are talking about encapsulation, which is um, basically all properties of a type, basically like let's say if we have a dog, then we will add what it barks, it has four legs, all the properties and methods into one component, so it will be easy for us to use it. So they are what they are telling that if you give this values is like let's say first the values was RGB like this, but suddenly you decide that no, you want it to be an HSL value, so you converted. Now uh, your whole code will stop working because this expects an array which is like this should be the first value of an array. That would be a problem, and that's why we should use private members of the class, so will not face the same problems like these, and uh, that's what they are telling us. So later on, if so we use the getters and setters, and to change this getter and setters constructors also, and that will help us easily manage our code and make it more readable. So these are features that are very important when it comes to programming, because um, a lot of people don't understand that readability when you work in a group, then readability of the code becomes very important because let's currently you are working on the code. You made a very like say very impressive stuff. You made some very impressive stuff, and after that you are required at another project. You only have that technical. Let's say you only have that technical knowledge, and now basically some maintenance work is required in this project, small. So you know the code, but your team wants your organization wants that it should be handled by someone else because it's just a small bug fix, let's say. And so now you have moved on, but if your code is not very readable, it's not very understandable, changing just a few lines will create bugs. There are not proper methods or workflows to do stuff. Then it would like the second developer will get confused with, will create more bugs, will actually make your a well made product actually really worse. So it will make it has a big probability that your code will become useless, and you yourself, when you come back, you would not understand that code. So it's very important to write readable code, and that's why following such patterns are very important. Private keys in JavaScript are hard. Private. If a class does not implement methods that expose these private keys, there's absolutely no mechanism to. Cool. Plus, one thing they are telling us that, uh, let's say, uh, uh, I had a project now. Hmm, okay, main address. Yep. So let's say I define A is equals to, let's make it an array. Cool. This that's my VS Code. Mhm. So, was it? Uh, it didn't even go live. What happened? 550. Okay, cool. Now, let's take a class example only. Okay, cool. Mhm. This is any code that's not using private. Yep, this one. And control A, control V. Okay, so we have this code, and we don't need this. And now let's say the user is smart, and he wants to be to know what how your code is working, or he wants to get access to the inner values of your code. And this is a very simple example, but in production you will have code that does very important stuff, so that you need to hide from the user. which is basically abstraction. So now if I go and console dot let's just what if I just go and type in red dot values, I'll the values. So like if this is a very a thing that needs to be secure, then that will create a problem. So data hiding is not there. But if you convert it to a private variable, then and you make it like okay. So first we have to also for private variables you have to also declare. This must not be done for public variables, but yeah. So now if I type red dot hash red if I dot hash so it tells me what red is, but I can't access it. So, so now I can't access the field values, and that will make the project very secure, where uh, the like the attacker cannot change that those keys or like something sim that is required in your project and should not be accessible. So that's a reason for using private variables. Mm, the user can easily circumvent check that. So, so that's what they're saying. Accessor fields. Was to read and write, and if you come to language like Java, you will be very familiar with this pattern. However, using methods to simply access a property is still somewhat unergonomic in JavaScript. Exactly. So, accessor field allows us to manipulate something. It is an actual property. Okay, so we talked about getters and setters. So uh, that's what they are telling us about. So let's just see the so in the above code we can see that they are writing the functions for getters and setters like this, and that this is how they get the function and this is how they set it. But there are also accessor fields where you can basically make these kinds of getters and setters. And if you type and get red dot red, then this will return the this dot values of zero, so the R. And if you just write red dot red is equals to zero, then this will use this setter to use this. So this gives you just way to access these and properly. These are features for basically these are features for a better code maintainability, readability. That's the main use for them. And um, public field. Public fields also have public counterparts, which allow every instance have a property. Fields are usually designed to when the constructor. No, 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 no. This, for example. Hmm. Obviously, public fields are basically normal fields, basically. But you don't uh, basically you can eliminate the constructor because also you are not taking in values for it. So uh, it's normal public private from other languages only. So with date example, encounter that date. No, that's which returns. This method does not apply any date inside it. It belongs to the class itself. However, it's put on date class instead of being exposed as global date now function because it's mostly used when dealing with date instances. Yep, groups of class methods which are defined on class itself rather than still also class. Let's see static methods. Static is valid, so it will take three arguments: RGB, return um, um, like written according to this whole expression and true or false value. So you are not, you can see that you're not making a new object for using this function. So sometimes you might have seen object dot some method. So where these methods come from? These are basically static methods for that class. So that's a use for them. So they can't be accessed from an instance of the object. And so extended and inheritance. We actually did this in the beginner section, but let's just go through it. So constructor, get the setters, and how are different. So color with alpha extends color, and we call in the super to uh, pass on the variables of this. And so this dot hash alpha is equals to a RGBA, and now we can easily define the properties of alpha rather than focusing on colors. First is that. So we call in the super. So the super is called before calling the this of this class. Public. So basically, they are telling the mechanism how it's work, and you can't use this before using super. So you can actually add code before this, but you have to use the this keyword after using the super. So in this block, run methods from parent class. Yeah, so like you can override methods like in any other language. So like say toString does this, but in alpha you can again define toString, and when you're using the alpha, it will use the toString of alpha color with alpha class. So derived classes don't have access to parent class private field. Actually, like any other language, the derived classes cannot use the private fields of the parent classes, and you have to like use getters and setters for that. So uh, so instance of derived classes are also instance of parent class. Uh, Parent class are also instance of uh, the base class. So, huh? Yeah. So, like obviously, an instance of color with alpha will be an instance of color. So that's what they're saying. The guide has been pragmatic so far. We are focusing on how classes can be used, but there's one question unanswered. Why should one use classes? Actually, no, a lot of people don't. I don't see a lot of people using classes. I though I'm actually at quite basic level. I haven't actually worked with like super massive projects. I've worked with like fairly decent sized projects. I've worked with e-commerce sites. I've worked uh, with companies that are big enough. But yeah, so but I don't find a lot of people using classes. Though I did make a project where I tried. It was an incomplete project where I tried using classes, but classes were very new at that. Like they were. I I also did not have a lot of experience. I was not using React or anything. I was trying to make it into just um vanilla JavaScript project, and uh, using classes was actually a okay idea. I think my understanding of classes is not being at like a good level at that time did sabotage that project. But yeah, I think currently if I make that I easily do that. So it was basically a timetable management system, let's say, and matching timetables and of your friends, and finding free spaces for you, your friends, all that. So, for example, one thing is they don't reform, but they are mutable. Yep, they possible. Suppose asking a more, but often make code hard to reason with because any same. Let's just de-read classes introduce a pattern or other ways to organize your code. Actually, readability is the main reason to use classes. So I would not say like obviously adds a lot of boilerplate code to your project, and I actually don't like it a lot. But having that much of boilerplate, but yes, it does affect readability, and yes, it does make it better. So that's how why one would use classes. Classes are the foundation of object-oriented programming, which is built on concepts like inheritance and polymorphism. So JavaScript does not have, in the traditional sense, inheritance and polymorphism. Like it has it like inheritance, it has it using prototypal inheritance. So however, many people are philosophically against certain OOP practices, and classes as a result. For example, one th thing that makes date objects infamous is they are mutable. So, function increment date dot set date dot get date plus one, date is equals to new date is equals to increment date, console log new date, mutability in important aspect form, and often makes hard to resolve because they simply a misalignment and an express. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Actually, however, it's often hard to describe inheritance cleanly when one class can only extend other class. Often we want the behavior of multiple class in Java. This is done through interfaces. In JavaScript, it can be done through mixin, but at the end of the day, it's not very convenient. Actually, on the brighter slides, classes are very powerful way to organize your code on a higher level. For example, without color class, we may need to create dozen of utility functions. Yeah, and obviously, after the or like the function methods in React, uh, we do make a lot of hooks. We do make a lot of utility functions, which and hooks are also kind of utility functions. So we see that like without classes, we have to make a lot of uh, functions that are not related to each other and don't paint a picture whereas classes help us to paint a picture like how things are working. The flow is with the code, but without that, the flow is not actually with the code. You have to define the flow in the docs, and you have to maintain the code in that way. So, the map and the set classes store the collection of. So we did map set, get error, type error, reference error. We did all that. And yeah, so we did classes and it was good. Promises. Promises will be a good topic to learn. Promises is a very important topic. As I said, like classes are not like they are that's a topic that is like good to know, but it's actually like leavable because a lot of projects don't use classes, and especially like at the current stage, I personally don't find like startups using classes. I don't so that's my experience. So I don't find startups using classes, but yep. um I think promises, uh, if you know promises, you are in a good space where because I've seen a people where they could have called all the promises alternatively, asynchronously, alternatively, and then they could have resolved it so using promise.all and uh, done the project, but they were using the async of it, and they were awaiting one by one by one, and that was just heartbreaking to see because why would you do that? Because that does not make any sense that you waste so much of time and so much of user time basically, and so show the loadings uh, uh, loader to the user and just wasting his time. So and that's a bad UX, and knowing promises will solve that problem. So promises is actually a very important topic. Okay, I think that's it. Let's end it here and soon we will be at the intermediate, and it does not look up like a big topic, so we'll be at advanced too, and it's actually good. It's a good pace to have. I think if taking one day for each of these topics, we can complete this in 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 days, and probably we'll go through references in a quick pace because I think we'll go through miscel- miscellaneous and like one day per page. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, plus 10 days, and we will have to go through this also, but we can we can actually go faster also. So let's see. But yeah, at least we'll know the basics of the language. References is something that you will all like anyone, any developer will always have with him. It's not something that's very theoretical. That needs to be very remembered. It is something that's good to remember, and it's something that's uh, uh, like more the more you have used, like you the more you don't have to look at the reference, the better the developer you are. So uh, but obviously every developer, uh, it's in our veins that we take reference and look code up at like different sites. Okay, bye guys.